So here's Rabia of Basra, who later, Baba said, became Baba Jan. When I entered God, my vision became like his. It flooded out over all existence. I knew no limits. The future I can now see with as much certainty as the past. If I stretched my arm its full length, I could caress any creature in this universe. And Rabia does not exaggerate. Now, this is Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was one of the mystics from the Far East. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Very beautiful.
Yeah, Lao Tzu is great. I love it. I think he's a strong contender for a perfect master. If ever I hear his stuff, it's great.
He could very well be. I never have heard Baba mention anything about Lao Tzu, but be content with what you have, rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you.
Wow.
That is really deep.
That's good.
Here's Hafiz via Dan Ladinsky. I have come into the world to see this. The sword dropped from men's hands, even at the height of their arc of anger, because they have realized there is just one flesh you can wound, and that is his, the Christ, our beloved. I have come into the world to see this, the sword dropped from men's hands, even at the height of their arc of anger, because they have finally realized there is just one flesh they can wound, and that is his, the Christ, our beloved. I wanted to send that to Donald Rumsfeld from about a decade ago. Here's one. This is Rumi. Even if you don't have the same fault as someone you are criticizing, you may develop that fault later in life. Think about that.
Oh, that's good.
Even if you don't have the same fault as someone you are criticizing, you may develop that fault later in life. Think about that.
That is excellent. Wow.
So here is Elizabeth Patterson. The unique, and she wrote this back in the 30s. The unique part of my experience is that as time goes on, though I may be far from Baba in distance, the impression on my life becomes continually stronger. He plants the seed and the flower springs up whether the gardener is there or not. Life itself cultivates the soil, while the divine love which Baba sheds warms it to grow. Baba always returns to my life as the sun returns in its cycles. Elizabeth Patterson. And yeah. Now, oh, go ahead.
Can you read that again?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thick.
Yeah. Okay, for those who are thick, we are going to read this again. Wow, what did I do with it?
You're what takes one to know one.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't criticize her because you could develop it later in life in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I know, it didn't take long. What the heck?
My God, that's so great.
I just had that there.
No worries, Jeff. It's okay. I forgive you.
That is unbelievable. I mean, I haven't gone anywhere. Oh, here it is. Here it is. The unique part of my experience. This is Elizabeth Patterson. The unique part of my experience As the time goes on, though I may be far from Baba in distance, the impression on my life becomes continually stronger. He plants the seed, and the flower springs up, whether the gardener is there or not. Life itself cultivates the soil, while the divine love which Baba sheds warms it to grow. Baba always returns to my life as the sun returns in its cycles. Elizabeth Patterson.
It's perfect for spring.
Yeah. Hey, does anybody, Jaysima, are you and Shalaja, are you the ones that are doing the hosting now?
I mean, yeah, we are hosts, technically.
I was wondering if you could bring up Will and Worry by Baba and put it on the screen.
Movie, YouTube,
The Will and Worry discourse.
a discourse.
Or maybe Prakash can do it. Will and Worry, because I thought this is a very interesting, I've got the book right here, but I think it's worth seeing it.
Yeah, 1 second.
But does anybody have anything to share?
I'm going to go upstairs. I bet Marvin does. I'm going to take the
Okay.
computer up. So we're going to.
Josh, you
Yeah.
got anything on your plate there?
It's funny. You know, I haven't got very many Baba resources at hand. You know, this is why I come here to things like this, that I can fill my cup. Or my cup's only filled with worry, so I'm getting ready to empty it out.
Okay, so here's what. Why don't, Josh, can you can read that on your screen, can you?
I can.
So here's what. I have a special connection with this quote, but I think it would be nice to see it before us first. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so just all of this page. Okay.
Yeah.
Duality implies separateness. Separateness causes fear. Fear makes worry. The way of oneness is the way to happiness. The way of manyness is the way to worry. I am the one who has no second, so I am eternally happy. You are separate from yourself, so you always worry. To you, what you see is absolutely real. To me, it is absolutely false. I alone am real, and my will governs the cosmic illusion. It is the truth when I say that the waves do not roll and the leaves do not move without my will. The moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with all that you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will, and nothing will ever be able to cause you worry again. Live more and more in the present, which is ever beautiful and stretches away beyond the limits of the past and the future. If at all you must worry, let it be how to remember me constantly. This is a worthwhile worry because it will bring about the end of worry. Think of me more and more, and all your worries will disappear into the nothing they really are. My will works out to awaken you to this.
So the part of this quote that I'm going to just share about is the one, the moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with what you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will, and nothing will ever be able to cause you worry again. So I'm just going to tell you my little history with that quote. So Prakash, or whoever, if they can drop that quote out now, so we can see who's behind here. Oh my God, look at who's behind those words. Put the words back up quick. No. So here, I'm going to give you just my,
Actually, can you put the words back up?
no, I was just joking.
Will you? I'm asking if you will, seriously.
Oh, you want to see them again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Let's have Joshua read it again.
That this highlighted bit. Okay. The moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with all that you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will, and nothing will ever be able to cause you worry again.
Okay. Let's see who's behind the veil here. Okay, so I want to just tell you my little history with this quote. Back in my college days, this is even before Baba, it just kind of drove me crazy. I could not, I struggled with, where does human perversity fit into the equation here of this life? I mean, love is a beautiful thing, but where is this human perversity, people doing cruel and unkind things and wars going on? It used to drive me crazy. So when I got into Baba, my question before him that I put before Baba year after year, day after day, is there a loving wisdom behind everything that happens? That was my question. Is there really a loving wisdom behind everything that happens? And I had to know that, not just, intellectually, not just intuitively. I had to know it experientially. There's for example, there's a six-plane saint who Sri Aurobindo, that Baba liked, gave him actually realization. But he says faith is an intuition yet to be proven by experience. Think about that. Faith is an intuition yet to be proven by experience. Well, I had an intuitive sense that there's a loving wisdom behind everything, but I did not know that from experience. And so I kind of put that before Baba. And in the intervening years, a lot of love was showered on me from all different directions, being in the atmosphere of the center. But I didn't get the answer to that. And meanwhile, I had many years of, I would say, mistreatment, cruel treatment directed toward me. And it went on and on. And let's see what I can say, how to describe this. It was through so much, I would say, cruel treatment of me. It drove me deeper and deeper and deeper until one day I was in the tomb and some nasty stuff happened over here. I'm making a pitch for the bad things that happen to us in life. So I was over there, and another thing happened. One more nasty thing happened, and I was in the tomb, and I was so disturbed. I spent 3 days in the tomb, off and on, trying to, how can this be love? How can what this stuff's happening? How could it be love? And so I read, at the same time, I read that passage. This was about maybe 10 or 15 years ago, where Baba said, when the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with what you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will. And I thought, I don't take everything as the most spontaneous and expression of Baba's will, everything that's happened to me. That's how far off I was. I don't know if that makes sense, but I was not taking everything that happens to me as the most loving and spontaneous expression of Baba's will. So that meant that I had to revise my entire view of everything. I had to accept everything, good, bad, and ugly, as being love coming from Baba. Now, that is, I struggled with that for a good while, but eventually I saw behind it that cruelty and unkindness and everything has a part. It has a loving part in awakening us to the deeper truth that there's a loving wisdom behind everything. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm throwing that out and then see what you people feel. In other words, the bad things, the very negative things in other words, I was not able to come to that realization through the love being given to me. It actually had to come through great negativity. So anyway, I'm just, I'll throw that out and see what you folks, I don't know, how you weigh in on that. I mean, do you have the conviction that everything that happens to you is Baba's loving will? I'll ask Joshua, do you think that's the case?
Hypothetically, yes. When I am at my most calm and lucid and relaxed, I can see that, and I'm thinking, oh yes, of course, that's how it is. But then the second I step out of the door and things start happening, that's when I forget. It just slips my mind. So yeah, so I completely agree with you. And I really, so I can see how much easier it is for my life if I am to believe that bad things happen for a good reason. And yet also sometimes I forget that.
Yeah. No, oh, good. We've got Diana and Terry to weigh in on this.
So I'm actually
This is
talking,
Terry.
this is Terry.
Yeah.
I'm actually talking about something that happened to us this afternoon, early evening. So as you all know, or most of you know, I'm a dental hygienist, and I tug like this, 7 hours, 8 hours a day. It's a lot. And I'm old now. And so I would get a massage here every other week, probably. Pre-COVID. And the last massage I got was March of last year, a few days before my birthday, from a Bubba lover in the house. So it's been 13 months. All right. I was very negative. I craved those massages, but I got one today for the first time. And Bubba was so with me. I couldn't stop saying his name. I was totally in heaven. Like, it was worth all waiting. It's like, even though it was always good, this was beyond good. This was so delicious that Bubba and Goa and Mira and Mani were just, they were all working my body, and it was amazing. So that's how I see it for today.
That's easy to see that's Baba's most loving and spontaneous expression of his will. And that's easier than some of the things that
I
come
know.
down the pike. But let's see what Michelle and
I do know that. I was doing one that was more joyful.
yeah,
But
that's
I've had the negative stuff too.
yeah. And the positive stuff has to be seen that same way. Baba said, he who remembers God in his hour of happiness remembers God best. Those are Baba's words. But let's see what Marvin has. Oh, Michelle.
But that's okay. He probably has something. But
Sure.
so first of all, I can't believe that anybody be cruel to you, Jeff. You're the nicest, sweetest guy, Uncle Jeff. I can't. Makes no
But
sense.
it was all for a good reason, but it didn't,
Well, so I mean, I would say that my childhood was pretty rough. Let's just say, artist girl, rough childhood. But when I went to the tomb, I felt like Baba made it very clear that everything happened to bring me to his feet. And that made everything okay. And it washed everything away.
Beautiful. Wow.
And I firmly believe that he was with me that whole time. And all that was, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So that's my take on that. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right.
Like I say, I feel the same way. All the treatment that I got, I say, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, even though it was the worst thing.
It also pushes you to grow.
Yeah.
Adversity pushes you to grow, which is
Yeah.
can be a very
I mean,
good
we would be at peace if we could accept everything that happens to us. But say that shouldn't be happening. But anyway, let's see what anyone else. Oh, Diane has got her hand up.
Can
Hi.
I talk?
Oh,
Sorry.
this will be a quickie. We are related to a rabbi who told us the story years ago. And his mother was in ICU and he was there holding her hand and she was asleep and he kind of zoned out on the monitor, the heart monitor. And he realized that was life. Life is up and down, and not life is a flat line.
Yeah.
And that gave me a lot of comfort.
Yeah. Beautiful. Great metaphor. Yeah. Well, let's see what Lanita has to say here.
Hi, Jai Baba.
Everything was nice in Brazil, and then it went downhill when she got to New York, right?
Well, it's a happy story that it's a little story, something that happened yesterday, and it's a happy one. So yesterday I volunteered at Meher Baba's garden in Myrtle Beach, where I live. So we sit there and we are guarding the house while people come and visit the compound, the garden, because nobody can go inside. So there's two of us just sitting there and, hanging out. It's the best hangout in this entire planet. We garden God is garden, what else can we ask for? And me and this other man was there. When we got there together. And he said to me, we are immediately, when we open the gate, we are in bliss because the garden is so beautiful now. The flowers, the azaleas are blossoming. The day was beautiful, was sunny, was gorgeous. It was like the perfect weather, not cold, not hot. And Ed, this man looked at me, he said, I grew up in a pig farm in New Jersey. How this happened? How I got here? And then I said, and how about me? I'm this sad little girl from Curitiba, Brazil. And how that happened? How I got here? We are guarding Baba's God's garden. How that happened? We are here now. We couldn't get over. We are so in bliss. We laughed the entire time because it was like, we're so beautiful. It's nothing to complain about it. It's just like, it was unbelievable the day. Baba gave us this gift to us yesterday, and we took in with all our hearts. We opened our heart to that beautiful day, beautiful garden. Baba's presence there is like, and a few people came in and out, and I asked them to step into my office. You can step into my office now.
Beautiful.
So it was just this, I mean, it can't get better than that. We realize that at the end of the day, it doesn't get better than that. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Great.
That's my thing.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You guys are going on the other side of the pendulum here.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have shared this earlier. And I don't know if it's in the context of what is being talked about. But I was in India with my mom and my brother and everybody. And, my mom is so particular about, keeping the energy costs low and everything. And I was there, I was cooking and doing everything I could do for her. And then I would just keep shuttling between various rooms. And then I just, never used to turn the lights off. And my mom, being so particular about keeping the costs low, she would often remind me, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. And I got so vexed. At some point, I used to really, flare up. And that's when I realized, I mean, like Joshua said, right at that moment of obviously nothing sinks in, but when I looked at myself, my reaction to what she said, I felt I need a lot of patience. So to me, Baba's expression there of his compassion is basically telling me, you need to be more patient. You need to learn patience. And to me, that seems to be some sort of spontaneous expression of his will, because unless we have that patience, you can't develop that love that you really need to, move on. And that's what happened to me. And I thought I'll share that, Jai Baba.
Yeah. It's funny because Kitty was always from the older generation. Kitty was always turn off the lights. Why, you're left that room, turn the light off, but we have gone way beyond that. We just leave all the lights on in the house and don't even think about it, but they were very, very specific.
Yeah, the lesson for me was definitely patience is something I definitely need more of it actually in my life.
Yeah.
And I think it happens at home too with her. I mean, I just occasionally keep, saying things that I wish I had not said, but that happens after.
Yeah.
So, that kind of thing. Okay,
I mean, of course, I make a distinction of superficial kind of irritations and deeper seated irritations. You can have a grudge against life. That's a much deeper thing than to be irritated by little things along the way,
Oh, okay. Right. I mean, obviously these are not, deep rooted. They just happen and then you forget about it and then it's over. And but there is a lesson I could learn from there, and that's what helped me. Yeah.
We have Jay. Okay, you have to see what he says.
Jay? Yeah.
He sent you a question, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, he's asking you to read. He chatted you a question.
To read what?
He chatted his question to you.
Oh.
In the chat.
Okay.
Pictures of the garden, Jeff.
Let's see.
That's what it is?
Let's see it. Huh. Let's see. So this is something written to me. You know, Jay, I will, I should give you my email address. And I mean, I don't think you want that all to go. Here's my email address.
Dion, I have a lot of pictures of the garden, but I don't know how to put it in here right now. So if you send me your email, I will send it to you. Okay? Can you hear me?
You talking to me?
No, I'm talking to Diane, sorry. Diane and Terry, they asked for pictures of the garden. I told her that I have pictures, but I can't put it in here now in the computer. If you send me your email, I can send it to you.
I just did. You ask and you
Oh,
shall.
okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. I will send to you.
Hey, wow. Something's happened here. Huh. Okay, let's see. You know what? Okay, Ram Nori, let's have Ram. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. I'm not on my monitor here. Anybody kind of know how to get on a monitor?
Since you're able to speak, you're still on Zoom.
Yeah.
You got to go to the top right, if I can recall, and you'll see several dots up there, maybe 9 of them, all bunched together like a square.
Select camera. Let me just see.
Are you in the gallery view?
Yeah.
Oh, then you should be able to see yourself.
I guess Jeff is saying like he can see on laptop but not on the monitor. So Jeff, there will be an option called displays. If you go to displays, you can see the display options. You'll see the monitor and other things.
Choose, see, pro, select camera? No.
I think you are on camera, Jeff. I mean, only thing you wanted to see in the monitor, right? Instead of in the. So for that, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, for that, if you type in the search displays.
Yikes. Oh, well, I just gonna have to go with this thing.
Okay.
Right now. How did that happen? I don't know.
Can he like close out of Zoom and re-sign in and go back to the way life used to be?
That's okay. Although everybody's much smaller and you're shrinking in my eyes.
No.
Okay.
We'll use really big voices then.
But I can see you. Okay. Anything? So Ram Nori, go ahead.
Yeah. What do you want me to say, Jeff?
Well, you've got your hand raised.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it was not intentional.
Well, now you're volunteered.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a pretty good life.
I did. I mean, it was all His grace, His blessings, and He told my mother, the Lord told my mother, never worry about your children. I'm their father. I'll take care of them, and He has. And what else can I say?
Yeah.
We had a very, I would say, stress-free life.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see with Marta. Were you Marta?
Yeah, you read my mind. I was just going to unmute, but
Yeah.
I wanted to say, Ram Nori, what was it, a stress-less life, or did you just look at it because you trusted Baba, so you didn't feel the stress that way? You know?
I just, I think I just took everything in stride, you know. I mean, I said,
Yeah.
well, if there is something good, he has given it, something bad, he has given it. So I just accepted the fact everything he has given it. So if he has given it, I better accept it and just follow it. It makes your life very simple. And you get a steak, enjoy it. Hey, you get macaroni and cheese, still enjoy it and thank him.
You probably had a lot of macaroni and cheese in your lifetime, Ram.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, Marta, what were you gonna say?
Well, it brought up several things. I don't completely remember the quote, but the thing that I was thinking is, in order to not worry, which brings up another thing that I believe, that Monty said that when Baba said for us to do our best and not worry and be happy, that was order from Baba. You guys maybe know that or think it, I don't know. But in order to not worry, which I have been working on for quite a while, it seems to me that I have to continuously remember Baba. And then Arnavas didn't, I think, did you say this, Jeff, or did Arnavas tell me this? She said to ask Baba to help me to not worry. And I thought that was a really good, a good trick. So that's part of my prayer every day. I ask Baba, please help me not to worry so I can obey your order to be happy and not worry. And the other thing I wanted to say that I really have enjoyed, about 25 years ago, I was in acupuncture college, and there was this student I couldn't stand. Oh God, she just irked the hell out of me. She was a perfectly fine person. She just, just rubbed me the wrong way. She was needy and whiny and everything. So, and I just tried to stay away from her. And then once a friend told me, well, what you don't like in her is that part of yourself that you have not accepted. And man, I didn't like that at all. This was like 25, 30 years ago. I'm much more advanced now, of course. Anyway, so I didn't like it. And I kept asking Baba. And slowly through the years, I realized that that was really true with everything that I resisted, that it was a part of myself that I was fighting. And so I started to thank Baba for everything. And the first big thing that came that was devastating is a person I was in a relationship with for 15 years told me that he was in love with a girlfriend of mine. And I remember it was such a shock that I literally fell to my knees and started weeping. But Baba gave me this moment of grace, and I remembered, thank Baba. So it must have been funny because I was brokenhearted. I was shocked. But I kept saying, thank you, Baba, thank you, Baba, thank you, Baba, thank you, Baba. And that was really, something turned in that moment where Baba started to really use that, because everything comes from love from Baba. And I thought, okay, whatever's on the other side of this pain is going to be a great gift that Baba gives me, because Baba always gives a kiss with a kick or the kick with a kiss, I believe. So that's all turning around from what you shared, Jeff. And those are some of the things that I think about. And I think gratitude to Baba for everything, because Baba says that he gives nothing except love. So everything that happens to us is out of his love. It's just my perception or my lack of not remembering that everything comes from Baba. And that takes practice, which comes back to saying Baba's name. And there you
Beautiful.
go.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it requires broadening our definition of what love is. Losing somebody in a relationship may be the thing that cracks you open in a larger way. And Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I mean that, if you can take everything with gratitude, boy, you have done a beautiful thing. I mean, that's one of the highest practices, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
you ask Baba, and Baba helps us, right?
Yeah, yep.
Baba helps us.
Yeah, let's see if we got anyone else. I wonder, Mayor Prasad, we'll see if we can get him to weigh in on this. Get him out of the, he's down there at the Pikes. I think Pike Street Market,
I have something, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead, Marvin, yeah.
Well, it's a long time ago. It's 1966. And I was an atheist. And what Baba did was he denied me his love. I didn't even know of Baba. And I was at school and I was getting ready to go to Europe. I had a whole bunch of money. And somebody approached me and said,
He sold sculpture.
yeah, he said,
Lots of it.
he said, why don't you come with me? I'm going to India to see Mayor Baba. And I said, who's Mayor Baba? And he said, well, he's God. He's in human form. He's on earth right now. Come with me. And that was his gift to me. He said, no. I said, no, I'm sorry. I don't believe in God, and leave me alone, and let me go my way. I'm going to go to Europe. And so I got on that plane to go to Europe about 3 months later. And it was a charter flight. There were 200 people aboard the flight. And in 1966, you couldn't fly from Chicago to Europe. You had to stop in New York. You had to refuel. And then you had to go to, just make it over to Paris. I mean, to what do you call it? We had to go to Nova Scotia. And anyhow, we're over the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I was completely restless. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I could not even close my eyes. And I'd never been like this, and I couldn't understand it. And I looked around me, and it's 4 o'clock, and everyone on the whole plane is sleeping. And I opened up the little window shade and saw that both engines were on fire on my side of the plane. 40 feet of flames, huge fire, not just, a little bit of flame. I got scared. I mean, I had flown planes at that time, and so I knew what it was like, we're over the middle of the Atlantic. And I ran over and I woke up the stewardess. She was sleeping. And I said, did you know about this? And I brought her over to my window, and she screamed, ran up to the pilot, woke him up. He was sleeping, and the co-pilot was sleeping. Everybody was asleep on the plane. And because of Baba, I was on that plane. And I was able to alert them to shut off the engine, and we coasted into Ireland and actually got to the end of the runway and ran out of gas.
Oh.
He told me that story, and I said, oh, it's a wonderful life. If you were not on that plane would have gone down. If you had gone to India, who would have saved the plane? I really believe that's true. I think that was. No, you don't get to.
No, didn't get to meet
You
Baba.
don't get that grace. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful, man. Unbelievable. Yeah. What
Yeah, that's
about
incredible.
Mayor Prasad? You got anything that, were you there when we read, when the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, that one?
Yeah, I was here.
Oh,
Um,
I'm taking, and a lot of people are talking about the very good side of everything, the upper side, but I'm making a case for the terrible things that happen to us, the rough things, and their value in enabling us to grow spiritually. But
yeah, I think to me it's the opposite. I don't necessarily remember that it's his will when everything is going well. I'm just, be happy in that and not necessarily remember that it's his will that I'm happy, But when something goes wrong, that's definitely the time when I remember that it's his will. But in the moment, it's hard to remember, but it doesn't take too long to remember that it's his will, it's only a few minutes or something.
yeah,
But
whatever it may be, in other words.
yeah,
When you kind of become conscious of it, it could
Right.
be at a joyous time or it could be in a depressing time. You accept either, as Bob is.
well, not accept, but I remember that it's his will, but acceptance is a different thing, acceptance, acceptance is super hard. If it is somewhat agreeable to me, acceptance comes a little bit easy for sure. But if it is very much disagreeable, it's very hard. Some of the things that may look really stupid bother me a lot, and I can't. It's very hard for me to accept. I'll give you an example. It's a funny one, but these kind of things really, the big ones are actually easy for me to accept as his will. Like something goes horribly wrong in my work or something. Those are the easy ones, but the small ones are the ones that really bother me. Like I have my backyard for the last 2-3 days has been moles are coming, and I hate the mounds of dirt that pile up on my backyard. In general, I don't like grass, taking care of grass much. So this one I remember that it's will, but it's hard for me to accept that. So some of the things are very hard to accept, even though they may look very small and stupid. But remembering comes easily. Remembering that it's his will comes easily.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Darwin says, actually, if you accept everything as Baba's will, your whole thought world and your whole emotional world will change. I mean, if everything can, is accepted not as coming from this jerk over here or these people over here or this, but it is all Baba through these people, your whole mentality changes, your psyche or your emotionality. If you can go that far, that's the great challenge, that it's all Baba through these people that's yelling at you or complimenting you, whatever, that's sometimes a bridge too far, as they say. Anyone else? We got Alan has arrived here. Or anyone else have anything to chime in?
Maybe Marvin could finish his story.
Oh,
about how he came to believe in God after all that.
Yeah, boy, it's a long one. It was on a blind date.
Not with me.
40 years later, or whatever. No.
I came after that blind date.
Yeah.
After.
It was on a blind date. Someone, fixed me up with some person, and he said, "Oh, you've got to meet this girl." And I was
just say who it is. Lisa Nelson Rabi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Lisa.
so you got to meet this girl, and you've got to go and see her, and come on,
Woman.
come on,
Woman.
and we were at a party, and there was this girl. Her name
Woman.
was also Lisa, and she was kind of hitting on me. The expression is, and so I didn't want to leave the party. And he kept, and I kept staying there. And my friend kept saying, "Come on, we got to go to this blind date. Come on, you're blowing us." And I just kept ignoring him. And finally, it was midnight, and we finally get down to the blind date, and the blind date isn't there. There's
Well, you show up at
there's
midnight, for
there's
God's
no lights.
sakes.
There's no doorbells. There's nothing for me to see that the blind date where she lives. It's a 12 apartment, complex, and there's, no doorbells. And I go down into the basement apartment, and I looked in the window, and all the lights were out, but I saw in the window a photograph of Baba. And at that moment, I fell in love, and I can't explain it. I just had to find out who that was. And my friend said, I started banging on the door, and the guy said, "Listen, you're going to get us arrested. It's after midnight. We got to, do this discreetly." And I said, "No, you don't understand. She lives here. I know she lives here." And I ran around to the back, and indeed she was there, and she came in, and she, I coaxed her to tell me, who that was and all this stuff. And then we left. And on the way back home, my friend kept saying, "Isn't she great? Isn't she wonderful?" And I said, "Are you kidding? I wouldn't be caught dead with that person. I've got 3 kids. This lady can't, really control herself. She doesn't know how to take care of 3 kids. It's impossible. I don't want to have anything to do with her." And I went home. I went to sleep, and again, I couldn't sleep. I was like wired. And I got up, and I thought, maybe it's this girl across the alley at the party. And I kept walking through the alley. I was thinking of throwing stones and waking her up. But, finally, 9 o'clock in the morning, during the night, I decided to make her a piece of jewelry. And in the morning, 9 o'clock, I run over there, and my neighbor's there, and he says, "Oh, Lisa's been waiting for you." And I run up on the stairs, and she goes, "Marvin." And I don't understand it to this day, but I looked into her eyes, and there was absolutely no contact whatsoever. I have never, no connection, nothing. I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what had hit me, because here I was looking at this perfect little princess, and she was not for me. And I dropped the piece of jewelry. I picked it up, and I gave it to her. I said, "Here, I made this. Maybe you might want it. And I'll see you." I never saw her again. Never. I'm walking home. My heart is going ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. And I said, "My God, I'm in love. Maybe it's with the other Lisa." So I tried to get a hold of her, and she would not talk to me even for 3 weeks. And then finally she said, "Okay, give me 2 more weeks and I'll see you. You know, just to see her for a date or something. And I said, okay, all right, 2 more weeks. I can do that. And when is that? And she said, July 10th, but I won't be able to talk to you. And so I went over there on July 10th and we went to a Baba meeting. And I found out who I really loved. Jai Baba.
Yeah, beautiful. Amazing how Baba does these things. You know, we could entertain ourselves for the next 700 years just on the Baba stories and all of these things that happen. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Marvin. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Let's see.
Thanks, Margie.
Anyone else can weigh in on the I mean, this doesn't have to be the topic at all, but I'm, you know, like there's some bulbs, you know, some bulbs like tulips, they have to have a hard freeze in order to bloom, you know, and so sometimes in order to bloom, I mean, some bad negative things have to happen sometimes before certain of us bloom, you know, it has its place. We can't grow tulips in our climate because it doesn't freeze enough. Yeah. Alan, have you been listening to this this stuff that we've been talking about?
Yeah, I heard the stories. It's pretty amazing. I'm just taking it all in.
Did you get were you there when we had that quote on the screen?
No.
Okay, you came in a little later. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just recently, this went right around when my video came on, but yeah, you're talking about the opposition in life, the hard challenges that
Yeah, there's the quote, right? I mean, it's got highlighted is the quote that had great significance for me.
Oh, and yep.
Read it.
I could read it if you want. The moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with all that you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will. And nothing will ever be able to cause you worry again.
See, my take on that was I realized about 15 years ago, I don't take everything as the most loving and spontaneous expression of Baba's will.
Right.
Well, that was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
I
feel like it's a daily struggle for me to, it sort of matches with what I was saying earlier in the Effort and Grace meeting. It's like all of these lifetimes and all of these, I mean, just on a daily basis, you know, when somebody, because I interact with people a lot in customer service and people have a lot of complaints and people just want to project a lot of their hatred and fear onto you. And yeah, it's just not easy to remember that that's, well, what I'd like to do is, for example, when somebody really, you know, and I have a picture of Baba above my desk where it's basically what he looked like when I first met him, and when I had that dream, and it was like, then it turned into not a dream. It was like I was just looking at reality. But that picture is the closest I can have to that moment. But I think it's 1958. But he, whenever there's those people that like really just like, I have the phone up to my ear and they're like really, for some reason, making me feel like I just cannot, there's just no chance of me finding any semblance of anything kind that I want to say to this person. Like, I hate you. Like, I feel so much like you just, everything, just the whole thing is just darkness. I just don't feel any love. And right when I know that, now it's like, okay, then I know it's like, for some reason, those are the moments that really pull me into like, I look up at his photo, and then I just try to connect the sense from my mind to my heart, like, this is you speaking to me, like you are talking to me like this, like who did you know, it's like these arguments, because I'm like, well, okay, great, you are everything, you're the beyond everything, okay, but can I have a little bit of something here? Like you're disrespecting me, Baba, like the way you're talking to me is hurting me, do you know that? And you know, and but I of course I put these people on mute, but I mean, like, you know, while I'm having this conversation, something happens where I just noticed lately, is just something happens where there's just a little bit like, there's a less belief in, like, I don't know, it's just like a practical thing, like, oh, you know what, this person's just in their own world. I don't know. I don't know if Bob was playing a trick on me, or I could get in the mental gymnastics of why, but now I'm just like, you know what, this person's in their own world. Okay. Hey, hi. Yeah, I'm sorry you're having a hard time with that. We're terribly sorry to hear that you really didn't like the paint on your walls there, but we're going to do their very best to help you out, you know, and I just try in that way to just practically change it in the moment, so that what am I going to do? Am I going to fight against the beyond who's calling me names in this form, you know, of, you know, Tom and Jerry calling me names, and you know, I don't know, that's for me, it's just a daily basis, and it's same thing happens with it's very hard though with, like, in partnership with, like, with my wife. That's where you know, this is real, and it's the more subtle form of where it really just, like, that's where the work for me, it's like deep work, and I really have to surrender. I always think about the time when in the earlier days when Baba would bring the women mandali together over, like, I think it was like over some shoe polish, just the smallest thing that they would blow up at each other about. Like, she took the shoe polish, Baba, I hate her. It was like Norina versus Elizabeth or something. I don't remember, but the way that he would bring them together and then just be like, just drop it, just forgive it now, and make up. Like, that to me is super, it's like, that's the gold.
Yeah.
That to me is really important. It's easy to do with people online, or people, you know, you're, hi, yeah, okay, oh no, don't worry about it, sure, yeah, okay, like, but it's, you know, it's a challenge.
Alan, are you in customer service? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I work for a real estate company, so I'm a facilities coordinator. So I'm working with guys under me who feel like the world is out to get them, and everything I give them is, you know, I'm like the man or something that's making them go through these things, and then there's the other side of it where people call in and complain about everything, you know, from everything to everything, and I'm the reason for it every day. So
I think Alan's next job, I think, should be like working in a library where everybody has to kind of talk quietly. And just, you know, just stack books and reshelve books and things and smile.
No, it's the last job I thought I would ever have, but it's just right after I came to Baba, it was like I just started getting these office jobs. I was, you know, a creative artist type person. I never thought I would ever step foot in an office, but that's where Baba's had me for the past 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what Ram Nori has to say. We finally got him, you know, he may have gone down to Starbucks in Pune and he's revved up.
I wish, you know, I was in Starbucks, but we are under total lockdown. I'm just confined to home, can't go anywhere out. And I've heard quite a few people talk about Baba's will. I was wondering, I have this is a question. A lot of people seem to accept all good things as Baba's will, but anything that is contrary to their beliefs, they don't seem to say. They say, no, this can't be Baba's will. I'm wondering why. Why is it that way?
A good question. Is that you that's kind of, we're getting some additional noise in there, but I think everybody got what you said there. Why do we accept the good things that's coming from Baba and Baba's will, and then the lousy things as human perversity or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
Anybody want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll respond. It's because it's
Yeah.
easy to accept good things as Baba's will, and then it's much harder to accept that I'm supposed to be receiving bad things. That's my experience.
Yeah.
You know, and I wish it wasn't the case, but yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at our situation in this country right now with the murder of Black males, young men by the police. It's how could that be Baba's will? I think that's the big. All these things
To
have,
answer your question, go ahead. Finish it. Finish your question. You know, so.
no, but I'm just saying, of course, it is
everything
Baba's will. What is the purpose of it? So we can wake up and actually treat each other like family and have a new humanity if we don't address the hatred and the systemic racism in our country. And I know we shouldn't probably getting into politics, but there are serious things that are happening here in our nation that have never been addressed and that have been swept under the rug. And so what does Baba want us to do, and how do we conduct ourselves with that?
Very good question.
His will.
Yeah.
His will for this to happen to that family, for that 13-year-old boy to be shot by the cops, for him to be out in the street at 2 a.m. What the heck was that about? But you know, that Chicago, there's things happening here that are, yeah. And that's Baba's will. And the Holocaust, Baba's will. It's really hard to look at these events in the world and say, this is what has to happen. So we awaken. It's a hard time.
Yeah. Because it violates, of course, all of our cherished values that we grew up with. You know, these things that just run roughshod over, you know, what we experience as love, you know, is just being contradicted by these things. But we got a few hands here. I don't know who came up first. I think Mayor Prasad was the next one.
Yeah, I was just responding to Ram Nori's question. The simple answer to that is we are just not willing to leave the results to him. If we didn't worry about the results, we would wholeheartedly accept his will. But because we want things to happen in a certain way, we don't, you know, the disagreeable results are what causes us not to accept. That's my experience.
And it's a lot of suffering to accept things. I mean, you're accepting a lot of pain in your heart. It's not like you can, I mean, these things hurt to accept. You know, they're painful to the heart. Let's see who we got.
Jeff, can I come in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hi. You know, I've heard, you know, multiple things about, you know, why this 13-year-old was shot dead and all that.
I was thinking about it.
One, that's his will, and I'm going to answer it with a little story from Baba. There was this Parsi couple that had a kid, and the kid was sick. And they would go to Baba and say, you know, should we change? They would ask Baba, you know, should we change the doctor? And Baba would say, no, don't change the doctor. Don't change the doctor. But the kid was progressively, you know, getting worse, you know. So eventually, you know, they go to Baba and ask him, I think we have to change the doctor. Baba said, no, don't change the doctor. You know, just stay with the doctor. So finally, the couple decide, that they want to change the doctor. They change the doctor, and the doctor gets the kid better. The kid grows up. When the couple, became older, they come to Baba and then they tell him, "Oh, what a miserable life we are having. Our kid turned out, to be such a pain to the society. He's causing us a lot of grief." Then Baba said, "That's what I wanted to, tell you. And I didn't want to tell you, but I wanted to stop you, but you were not listening." So a lot of these things, we don't know what seems like, a bad act. You and I, we cannot sit here and judge it's a bad act. We don't know the intentions. God alone knows the intentions. So who knows? I mean, God alone knows, why such a thing has happened.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people that have had divorces, and 20 years later, sometimes they'll say that was the best thing that happened to them. It woke them up to their insensitivity to their kids or their spouse and everything. But at the time, it's the worst possible thing that could have happened. If you have to see the whole, like Baba said, you have to see the whole picture. But let's see who's next here. I think Josh was next, and then Mahu.
Okay, yeah, it's funny because what I'm so interested about in this topic is the will of God. In it's something unfathomable to me as just a monkey on a flying rock. How can I know what the will of God is? But serendipitously, I came across an article that a friend in Sydney wrote, Ross Keating, and he came up with this phrase, and he was talking, and Baba was saying in Nasik in 1937, "I never make plans, never change plans. It is all one endless plan of making people know that there is no plan." So I don't know if that speaks to the will, I don't know, but it's an interesting conversation. It's just really fascinating.
Yeah, I remember that quote, and in a way, there isn't a plan in the terms that we think of. Although luckily we're all growing and we're all going to realize God eventually. But sometimes we're on the local train, sometimes we're on an express train, but we're going to get there. But
I'm on roller skates.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm on roller skates.
We had a joke the other night about that. Let's see, Omahu.
Okay. Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay, hey, Baba. There are several ways to actually look at this, but I want to first address to what Michelle said about what's happening and other people in different ways, and then what I understand from divine will or Baba's will. Clearly, Baba states in discourses that there is no good and bad. There isn't. Because when it's all illusion, and this illusion is the imagination of one's thinking or a dream, then there is not a real value, divine value, about what's really happening. Because good and bad, or the opposition force of what needs to happen in a world of duality. Perhaps what's happening right now, not just USA, I would say all over the world, but perhaps we refer to what is more tangible to us. It's definitely part of Baba's awakening, okay? And that's what he's working on. I mean, I like to address what's happening in Iran, the native country I come from, although I've lived in USA for past 42 years. what's happening in Iran right now is brutal. It's not even humanistic. What's happening to women, what's happening to every human being. For the past 40 years, a government under the name of religion, Islam, has been ruling in complete tyranny and censorship and lack of freedom and considering women as half being, on and on and on and on. And you would think, you know, Islam was 1400 years ago, and now in the 21st century, what is this? What is this phenomenon? But the way to look at it, now let's turn to God's will. The way to look at it is evident that people's consciousness were at the level where it is. You see, we create our own lives based on the level of consciousness and the connectivity that we have with the ultimate reality or the ultimate truth or God. And if we have massive religious samskaras, then we have to pay for it. We have to pay for it. So that's why Baba says there is no good or bad, really. And as far as free will, Mani talks about this really nicely. It's only God's will and nothing else. Now, there is not two versions of it. This is our inner conviction that there is a God, a creator, a protector, a preserver, and he is the one. His will rules the world. Not a leaf would fall off of a tree without his will. And that's our faith. Is it difficult or is it enjoyable? It doesn't matter, because we can't go by our feelings. You see, as long as we rely on our feeling, although it might be unrealistic, but it only disheartens us and nobody else, because things are the way they are. We are at where Baba wants us to be. Accepting this with a complete self-effacement and faith in the God-man is what makes our life much easier and a good outlook toward freedom. That's what I live my life with every day. Every day I create a new day in Baba's will and ask him, what is this day is going to look like, Baba? Let's live it together. You know, like that. Anyway.
Yeah,
Jai Baba.
beautiful. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, she's working on plan A there.
That was beautiful, Mahu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, let's see. I
All
think
together.
I think Ram was the next guy, and then Lanita.
I totally agree with Mahu's said. Everything is his will. At least I was raised saying that everything is his will, be it good or bad. And the way you look at it is, if something bad happens, so that means God is telling, he's telling you that this is not right for you. There is something better. If you look at it that way, and at least I was raised that way. And I was also raised saying that everything is will, everything is predestined, everything is written. And all the Sadgurus are the executors of his will. So as long as you accept it, maybe, since I grew up in a Baba family, it was easy for me to accept it, be it good or bad. We just accepted it and just, moved on. I mean, obviously there's going to be a little bit, but that's for a very short period of time, well, if it had happened this way, probably I would have liked it, but it didn't happen. So move on. So that's his will.
I mean, there's always a little eggshell in your favorite omelet, huh?
Yeah. So it's
No, good, Ram. You've weathered it very well.
Somebody told me, I mean, if everything is his will, so if I commit a murder, can I say I didn't do it? It's God who did it because of his will. And it was answered saying that, yeah, as long as you accept it, the capital punishment is given not to you but to him.
Yeah. This is one thing that I remember back in the 70s. The idea that everything is Baba's will. He said that's the best thing to hold to, but it's like a house of cards. He said if you do one thing and you take credit for it, the whole thing collapses. So, but then that doesn't mean you start all over. Everything is Baba's will. But the moment you do something or someone does something that violates, that just is too much, that God couldn't do that, or you take credit for something terrible that you did or something great that you did, then the whole, the idea that Baba is the doer falls apart.
But Jeff, I have a question. If you say it's Baba's will, but then you say Baba doesn't have a plan, all of a sudden I don't feel safe anymore.
Well, I think what Bob is saying about the plan is, it's not a plan in our definition of the plan. That's his definition. I think it's his definition. There is a plan, but it's nothing we can plan for. It's beyond formulation. Someone asked, I'll get to Lanita in a second. Someone asked innocently in the library here, Balkal Shuri, is there a formula for following Baba? He was new. And Bao said, yes, there's a formula, but it's a formula-less formula. It can't be formulated. Or there's a plan, but it's an unformulated plan. Okay, Lanita.
I have a thought for this last statement of yours, Jeff.
What's that?
I think the formula, the 7 realities, that's our responsibility. Baba's will, but our effort to follow the 7 realities is our responsibility in terms of taking, I stand in the truth, in this illusion here, because we live here in the illusion. No matter if it's illusion or whether you believe or not, is illusion, So, but the story that I want to tell is that, can you hear me?
You're fading out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Not.
I know my Wi-Fi is kind of weird today.
Yeah,
okay.
It is breaking up.
You got it now?
Yeah, so far.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the story is that Rustam Falahati tells the story of a woman whose child, he was maybe 4 or 5 years old. He was very, very sick, and he was for years, he was, his whole life was a misery. He was in pain, a lot of pain, physical pain. And she took him to Erich. And she said, Erich, what Baba is doing to my son? Why my son is suffering so much like this? What is the purpose of this? Why Baba is doing this to us, to him, to me, to my family? Why? Why did he's got to suffer like this? And Erich said, after ponder for a moment, he said, Baba is working in his soul. No matter what his body is going through, it doesn't matter for Baba. He's working in his soul. His soul is gotta, advance, or it needs this pain, to go forward. So Baba is not hesitating, give him pain if it is in benefit of his soul, going forward. And that's what Erich said too.
Yeah.
This story is in Rustam Falahati's book, one of the books.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So I don't know.
Excellent. Very good example.
I think has their own story with Baba.
Very good example. You're fading in and out, but I think we got the gist of it. At least Ram Nori got the gist of it.
Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi today is very stable. I gotta pay the bill.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. Inku, what do you think about this? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. I can't help questioning myself when things go bad, and then I sort of say, well, is it Baba's will? But then why should it, why do we have to go through this? I keep questioning all these things. I know I shouldn't, but I can't help myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but do you find that at the deepest level, you kind of accept the whole thing, even though your emotions and your mind are disturbed or annoyed or something? Do you feel like there's somehow a growing underlying acceptance of what life brings?
Not always, Jeff. To be honest, not always.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's these are deep things. I mean, but I'm sure Baba, I feel Baba was trying to get us to that place, but it's a very slow process. As Erich used to say, spiritual progress is very, 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 very gradual. Not as fast as we Americans would like it to be.
Well, I don't think you can just say we Americans. It's all of us, basically.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, but we're kind of, well, I guess, I guess your country too is all hyped up too, but we are especially impatient with things. But maybe it's not just America, but I know we are for sure.
Yeah, I mean, many times it's, in the moment, I get all worked up. And then later on hindsight, I say, why did I react this way? And why was this so? And it comes to me that this was Baba's way of making me see something in a different way. And, making me realize that I have to accept the situation the way it is and to remain calm.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. There's a line where Baba says, take it as a blessing or take it as a test. Whatever happens for the best. Those are Baba's words. Take it as a blessing or take it as a test. Whatever happens for the best. That's a hard one to swallow. But I think we all kind of know it's true, but still hard to swallow.
Yeah. And then I feel that I've failed Baba, in that moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Mandali felt that all the time. That just hard to accept these things. And, but, yeah. But I mean, do you feel like you really failed Baba, or this is the best that you can do?
No, I feel that, I shouldn't have reacted this way and that Baba edged me on to test me, but I failed the test.
But do you keep a sense of humor about it, or do you kind of feel bad about it?
Yeah, I feel kind of bad about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Jeff, could you just put that line on in the chat, the one you said just now about the
Okay. Well, I'm not good at typing. I mean, I'll try it.
Okay.
Take.
Okay.
No, you know what? I'll do it if you.
Okay, good.
Go for it.
Take it as a
Thank you.
blessing. Take it as a blessing,
Take it as a test.
comma, or take it as a test. Period. Whatever happens, comma, happens for the best.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Jeff.
yeah. Wow. It's very interesting. I mean, you can see we're all kind of dealing with this, this big challenge in all sorts of different ways. But
I had a friend's father who was, sorry, did I interrupt you?
no, go ahead. No.
He had to fly from LA to Virginia, kind of close, halfway into the pandemic here in the States. So it wasn't good that he had to fly and everything, but his father had a stroke and there brain surgery was going to happen. He was there for like 2 months, and he is a devout Christian. And every day that something wonderful was happening, progress, he attributed it to Jesus. And I kept saying to Terry, if his dad goes back the other way, it's kind of like we're saying, when things are going well, we thank Baba, we thank Jesus, but when it hits the fan, do we also thank them for this is the way it's supposed to be? And I actually, when he came back, we were having dinner, I asked him that, would you have been willing to have looked at it being God's will? And he said yes.
Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah. That's a deep knowing there.
Jeff, as they say, God knows the best.
Yeah.
He knows what's good for you. And also, we heard stories where, from people where they said, well, we are like a log in a river. We are just flowing. We're like a log floating in a river. A log.
Yeah.
In a river. And river has 2 banks. And those banks are, one is happiness and other is suffering. So you go from one bank to other bank until the river merges into the ocean, and the ocean is God. So as long as you accept that, things will be okay.
Yeah, good image. There was there was one guy that would come before, Erich would tell this, where this one guy would come before Baba with the most kind of ingenuine devotion, and it just it bothered Erich, and time after time this guy would come and with this just a kind of show of devotion to Baba. And this went on for a while, and then one day Baba, after this guy had left, Baba said, everything go all right? How was the day? Yeah, everything was right, Baba. It was all right. Well, anything bother you? And Baba got it out of him. Baba, that this guy, his devotion is just a show. It's a sham. It's not genuine. And Baba said, but you don't know how far he's come to be just this bad. And So Erich kind of got the, wow, I got to kind of see this over a larger screen here, you know.
Yeah.
You don't know how far he's come to be just this bad. So VJ, what?
Jai Baba, Jeff, and Jai Baba, everyone. Yeah, it's very interesting that everything is governed by Baba's will, not just means my own thing, but whatever happens in the world, that also Baba's will. And that realization means that experience I got first time in 1978 when I was first time I came to Myrtle Beach, and that was also on the recommendation of Adi Irani. And so after visiting Myrtle Beach Center and meeting all those Baba lovers, Baba community, and I think I was almost there for 50 days. And while I was returning back, so on the way back, I stopped by in Washington, D.C. And then from there, I happened to visit a friend at Baltimore, John Hopkins. And he was a Sufi guy. And then I don't know if I told this, but again I repeat. So when I reached, I stay in the dorm with him. And he said next morning he will go to his professor. And then we were talking to his professor. There were some 7, 8 students. And then he gets the news of his, I met him. And so then he gets the news of his winning Nobel Prize in physiology and medicine, Dr. Daniel Nathan. And he won the Nobel Prize in physiology and medicine for identifying cancer feeding genes. And then I had a champagne party with him. Champagne, we cheered champagne and we have photographed together. That photograph is there with me. And then press reporter flocks in. And then one of them asked my reaction also. And I say, yeah, I came to visit Baba centers and Avatar Meher Baba Center here. And it's a coincidence that I got to share champagne party with Dr. Daniel Nathan. And then in the evening also there were press conference, 200 people, and then I was also there. So see, I was not knowing, this was not fixed, this event. I just happened to be there. And later on, I felt within me, ki just besides Myrtle Beach, Baba wanted to show me just at the right moment, he puts me there. And so it was a great event for me. And then, of course, when I decided to return back and then came to Bombay. And of course, Adi ji was also curious to know the feedback and all, whatever. But there was no fixed date of my returning. And then I thought, anyway, so Khurshid used to live at that time at Bombay. And always I used to visit her at Bombay, near Dadar. And but I had to stay, there was a friend at Washi, it's outskirt. So I was planning that to stay at Washi. But then but I had those suitcases and things. So I thought I will visit Khurshid Mai also. And then I will leave the suitcase there and then go to Washi and stay there and then plan my departure back home. So from the airport, I took a rickshaw and went to Dadar. Those days, I remember from the airport, it was something like 80 rupees. Yeah. And the fare, the charges. And then when I came down to Dadar and near Khurshed's apartment, and then got down, and then these rickshaw drivers say no 100. So I said, well, you say 80, now you are asking 100. No, 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 like that. Anyway, so there was little argument, and it so happened that Adi that time was visiting Khurshid. So he was there. So from the gallery, he was watching me and rickshaw driver. Anyway, I gave him 100 and they just went off. And then I saw Adi and I said, ha, 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 laughing. We were both laughing. And I was laughing and laughing. And that described everything. Adi understood that how my trip was like. And then he says, okay, yeah, now you stay, if you like to stay here with me, you stay here. And then I say, no, Adi, I have to go to Washi to see the friend. And then I told him the gist of my visit. So here what I want to say you, that all these events are not planned. I think Dinku was also asking yesterday that the question that whatever happening here now, like Corona, like things and things, it's everything Baba. And I feel that it has given us a good opportunity for our internal life, internal link with Baba. As external, Baba says this illusion, this is all illusion. But this illusion is helpful in knowing the reality. See, through love, and at the Samadhi it is written mastery in servitude, service. And through love and service, it is possible to know the reality. It is the gateway to reality. This is all illusion. That is the final meaning of this illusion. See, God in reality, he wanted to know who am I? Basic question, who am I? But the reality, then how should he know? He should compare it with the illusion. Like everything is duality. To know the white, you have to know the black. You have to know the good, you have to know the bad. So to know the reality, illusion is also necessary. And Khak Sahab has described, Madhusudan is in his song, Aine Banaye, Dekhna Tha Usko Roop Uska. He wanted to see his own image, and all these faces, mirrors he has made. Khak Sahab has said, Ki you have to come down on earth to see your own beauty. So finally, see, the main purpose is God to see Ko Aham Aham Brahmasmi. Who am I? And I am God. So this finally, through this illusion, that finally that reality is, and we have to finally forget all this. Mind has to manonash with the experience of good and bad. Mind has finally to vanish, because mind when finally after experiencing the extreme, it comes to the poise where there is no good and no bad, and then the purpose of mind finishes, and then Baba takes, oh, this is ready now. Complete reality. Okay, I'm the real father. Okay, Jai
Yeah.
Baba, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, yeah. Hey, I think we're getting toward the end, but I wanted to mention, here's how one of the ways that you might say Erich resolved this thing. When we would go out to Marazad, Erich and the Mandali would be there, but Erich would be there, and he'd say, hug somebody, say, Jai Baba Lanita, and he'd give her a big hug. Hey, Joshua, give us all a big hug. But and 3 days a week, we would see him and Mani and all of them. But on Baba's birthday, they would get up at 5 in the morning. They would go over, they would go over to Baba's bedroom at 5 in the morning, and they would say Avatar Mir Baba 7 times. And there would be some of the Western residents, some of the Westerners that worked there, and different ones in Baba's bedroom. And at that time, Erich would embrace each one. He would embrace Alan and he'd say, I love you, Baba. And he embraced this one. I love you, Baba. And he embraced that one and looked back and say, I love you, Baba. So he saw everyone as Baba in disguise. So how can you complain when it is your beloved who is everyone and even doing all of these things? That's another way of resolving this difficulty of good and bad. If it's all really your beloved, the idea I got from Erich is that Baba, people are not independent of Baba. Baba is like inside of everybody, as someone said there, trying to get, they're like a puppet, where each of us is like a puppet, and he's trying to get love to come through. But some puppets are so, the strings are so tangled up that when this puppet goes to embrace you, the arm swings around and hits you in the face, But Baba is in each one trying his best to get love to be expressed through them. It's not like Baba's over there on the dais and we're running around down here, So that's one way of trying to resolve that. It's of good and bad, and cruelty, good and evil, and all of that. Eventually it's going to get resolved in us in these various ways, but not if you're like Ram, just sitting around watching basketball games. That's just not going to get you there. Watching
that is, I agree. So yeah, I got to do something better than that.
Yeah.
Jeff, I just wanted to, I'm Baba illiterate. I have not read many books. If I recollect, I don't think until the COVID set in, I'm not sure if I read any Baba books. But over the last year, I've read quite a few books.
Yeah.
I always felt, why do I need to, I just have to love him. And I don't have to know. I don't need to, I saw him. I don't need to know anything about him. I saw him, and that was good enough for me. And I don't need to know what his philosophy. Somehow I said, what are all these 7 planes and all, if he wants to give me God realization, he will give me. I'm far from it, but he'll give it, so why worry about it? He will give it in due course.
Well, this pandemic has gotten us focused on Baba. I think, as horrible as it is as a worldwide phenomenon, for the Baba lovers, and I'm sure other spiritual seekers, they are thinking more about God, about the divine side of themselves more than ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think, a lot of people tell me that who are on these Zoom sessions, they never spend this much time focusing on Baba as they do because of this pandemic, where they've gotten onto the Zoom sessions and exchange, do all sorts of exchanges. It's been quite beautiful. So have we got a final quote from somebody? unless there's something
I got
else to
one
bring up.
thing to say about Erich and Adi. Just recently listening to them speak to people who are, I would say, maybe a little bit crude or harsh. Or, for example, I was listening to something of Adi talking to a bunch of reporters in the 1950s. I think it was 1952, and you could just hear how blunt the reporters were. They're like, "How is this not a cult?" And he was just like, and to me, I'm like, whoa, like they're just shooting really intense energy at him. Like, why is Baba not seeing us right now? Where is he? Is he, what is his relationship with women? Like, it was just so intense. And Adi is just, it was almost like I could feel or see his total, it was like Baba was just, he was resting with Baba so deeply that these questions and the way that they were coming and the way that, whatever way they were, anybody, anything, anywhere, he was just there with Baba and like answering them in like the same energy. He wasn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't getting a rise, they weren't getting a rise out of him. And I just, for me, that like, that's an example of somebody's humanity that's been, it's a total example of like the same thing with Erich. I've heard, you know, it's like, whoa, the way he reacts to certain questions and people coming at him was just so from love that to me, that's really transformative. That to witness, to hear that is like, oh, okay, wow. Like for me, that touches me into Baba on a human level, like very deeply. So, that's just like a micro example of like when you're dealing with the dark, you know, just the intensity of life, you know, maybe not, it's not a traumatic thing happening to them, but they did have that as well. But it was like just the fact that they were able to function and still be loving and being kind and being helpful in the midst of anybody who came across their way. It was like, because they were being torn down by the man himself. I mean, he was tearing them, their insides in a way that nobody could really match. So I don't know. I just like make it in mind.
Yeah, that reminds me of one thing that there was there was one guy, Erich, you know, would tell these beautiful, touching stories, not just only about Baba, but things from the spiritual tradition. And there was one guy that was there at, you know, in Mehrabad, and he would come out and Erich would tell these very touching stories, and then this guy would make these kind of sarcastic remarks, you know, like, "Oh yeah, how do you know that's not a coincidence?" You know, I mean, just doubting, you know, these stories and the love and everything. And this went on for some time, and the Westerners were about to strangle this guy. You know, why? You know, why? What are you here for? If you know, if you don't believe in this stuff, what, you know? I mean, they're about to lay into the guy. But it went on for a couple of weeks, and then one day, Erich told this, you know, touching story, and at the end, this guy made his usual kind of sarcastic remark. And Erich looked over at him and said, "Your remarks frighten me." And he never did that again. "Your remarks frighten me." He gave him a real mirror of what sarcasm does to the human heart. It hurts. It's scary. It's scary. And we would have said, you know, just, "Hey, get out of here. You know, what are you doing here? If you don't believe in this stuff, then go to some other place." But he wouldn't have got the reflection. He would have just gotten a negative reaction. Whereas Erich just said, you know, very dispassionately, "Your remarks frighten me." And those are those kind of responses that I would marvel seeing, because they were not in my vocabulary, that kind of counter response, you know. Hey, well, let's, Mayor Prasad, have you got a quote there at the end here, and we'll have a few moments of silence.
Okay. How about a couple of quotes?
The what?
How about 2 quotes?
2 quotes are fine.
All right.
7 quotes. No, 12 quotes, 12 quotes, that must. 12 quotes.
Okay. Here it goes. In love, there is no fear. For those who are earnest, the path and the goal become the same. Therefore, continue trying.
Ooh, read that again. Yeah.
In love, there is no fear. For those who are earnest, the path and the goal become the same. Therefore, continue trying. The perennial spring of imperishable sweetness is within everyone. Yet, if man does not release that spring by removing the ego blockade, he inevitably suffers in innumerable ways. Read that again.
Yeah.
The perennial spring of imperishable sweetness is within everyone. Yet, if man does not release that spring by removing the ego blockade, he inevitably suffers in innumerable ways.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Jai Baba.
everyone. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
thank you for everybody
Jai
for
Baba.
chiming in.
Jai Baba, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Meher
Thank you.
Baba, everybody.
Jai
Yeah.
Meher Baba.
See you, Matt.
Jai
See you, Diane and Perry and
Bye,
Prakash.
everyone. Have a
Good
good
to
week.
see you, Josh.
Yeah, I aim to start coming more regularly to these.
What time is it there in Australia?
It's 2 p.m. at the moment. Your midnight is your 10 p.m. is our 12 p.m. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's nice meeting you, Josh.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too, Diane and Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah. See you folks next week.
You know, we've got India, Australia, and both coasts of United States here tonight.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Cool.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
See you.
Bye, Jeff. Thank you.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Bye, Baba.
Jai Baba.